Hello and welcome. This is Oz by Drone.
Hey, everybody.
Greg.
I'm John. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. And this is our weekly live show where we chat about drones, tech, and all sorts of other stuff that interests us.
All right. Yeah, going to have some fun today. We've got some great new photos that have been leaked out, some new gear that you may or may not have seen if you're following the Slack feed, but lots of exciting stuff to talk about, and a very special guest.
We've got our guest a little bit later. We've got Bill, the drone reviewer. We're going to have a chat to him. But first of all, let's start. And the first thing we're going to start with today is
the news. Always lots of news happening in our world. Seems to be that the technology keeps on moving so quickly. New stuff coming out all the time. And you know, last week we talked about the deferring of the DJI release. Well, more photos were leaked this week, and they're pretty exciting. But what have we got first, Greg?
So, as always, just a reminder, our news, we have more news than you see here on the website that's on the screen there, dji.retroroms.net. That's also in the description. That news is compiled by Greg Hilton and also by... And last week I couldn't remember Greg Hilton's name. This week I couldn't remember the name of the other person, Jazz Ariel. Anyway...
It is Sunday morning.
Jeff Sills. So some
go.
Great news there, and they help us out a lot. So thanks to them. Moving on. So the first news item is not a drone news item, but it's something that was normal news, but it happened to be shot with a drone. So this relates to something in Syria. So obviously they've had a war happening over there for some time. But just certainly having a look at this footage, it was one that we didn't get to share last week, but let's have a look at it anyway. It's only a short clip, but just, it's
Wow.
Certainly something that we're not accustomed to seeing, but I came across this, someone shared it to me, and I thought it was appropriate to share. This is something that a drone's being used for.
A domestic drone, we suggest that that's either, just domestic commercial drone, obviously not military footage. It didn't look like it.
No, it's not military footage. It appears to me to be a domestic drone that shot that. But yeah, look, it's certainly an interesting perspective, but let's move on from there and on to the FAA and registration. So no vision other than the FAA logo to share on this one, which we'll put on the screen just for amusement's sake. But so the FAA has come back and they have again reinstated the requirements to register drones in the US, and that's gone through from a legislative perspective as well.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because we're going to be facing that in Australia next September. But I know the Civil Aviation, CASA here, have been watching carefully the lead that the US has taken on this. Makes perfect sense to have a register of kinds because without it, you can't really move on. You've got to have a line somewhere in the sand where you're going to have complex aircraft and complex operations that are going to need to be registered. So where you set that line is always a debatable point. And I might check, I believe it's 250 grams in the US. That's what the Europeans are looking at. Or in America, they use, of course, the imperial code. But maybe we can check with our guest on that, on the latest with that, Greg.
Absolutely. We'll come in and have a chat with Bill in a little while. But just moving on to our next story, which is kind of related. So, again, FAA related and Drone Advisory Committee. This is interesting. So there's been an SUAS News article about this one, and there's been so many detractors, as they say, taking a swing at the piñata. And, you know, we've had a Drone Advisory Committee formed and then killed and formed and killed, and they keep going back and forth. But just an interesting point that they've reformed that in the US. I don't understand, you know, why it keeps dying and coming back, but just thought I'd share that. And the other interesting point, having a look at some of the people that are part of that. So we've got someone from the FAA, Dan Elwell, the federal officer. We've got a chair which is vacant, which is interesting. The chair of this new committee is vacant. We've got some manufacturers. We've got some people from Google X, Precision Hawk, Facebook. Now, here's an interesting one. Why have we got someone from Facebook when they've just killed their platform? We've got someone from Amazon Prime Air, and we've got Brendan Schulman, one person from DJI, now on this committee from the manufacturing perspective.
Yeah, I don't think there's any surprise there, mate, that those stakeholders are financially engaged in the sector pretty strongly. One of the things that might interest our listeners about following the US, the FAA and the European aviation agencies is that the world has decided this time, rather than having an ICAO, which is the International Civil Aviation Organization, to set up a member group called JORUS, which is the Joint Regulators Authority. And what they've decided to do is to find all of the countries in the world that are working towards just describing these laws and getting these laws for unmanned systems together, have got a joint committee. What we want to do is avoid what we did in the first time, taking forever and going through the legal problems of setting up unmanned traffic systems throughout the world. So we know Singapore's got quite a good one at the moment. Everyone's looking towards the same thing, and it'd be crazy to have all of these different systems. Now, obviously that can be driven by the manufacturers, because if they're going to set up a platform that needs to be monitored by a certain traffic management system, or if you like, tracking system, then of course they want to know so that their livelihood can remain in place and the technology can move forward. So it's an interesting time. Everyone's looking at each other, as they have been for a while, all the various countries. And through JORUS, we're hoping that some uniformity can happen across the international.
They're the group that published the draft SORA document, is that the one?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones that published that. So they don't have any legislation teeth, as it were. They're an advisory body of all the member countries, and they're sort of saying, look, we'll make a recommendation here. Everyone has to sign off on it if they want it to work. No one has to, and an individual country has their own sovereign rights and can make their own decisions. But, of course, the future may be easier for countries that decide on a uniform platform that works across. And I think everyone agrees. I mean, we're all flying Chinese airplanes, everybody. That's basically a lot of what's happening. Or French, that we're flying aircraft from other countries, and they're going to that's going to have a bearing on how they want their market to work. Moving on. So the next one, we've got some footage from iXblue, is the name of the company, and it's some interesting mapping. Apologies for the noise in the background. I don't know where that's coming. Is that from the boat? Here we go. Yep, let's have a look. Okay, so my apologies. I actually went to the wrong one. So this is an extra one that I will briefly talk about. If you go to SUAS News, yep, there's a competition there to win a DJI Spark. So the reason this one it's happening, there's SkyLogic Research. They've got a survey happening. So go to the SUASnews.com website. And certainly you can win a Spark. So let me now try that one more time. So now we're going to move on to iXblue. So what this is, the country of New Zealand, obviously they've had some earthquakes over there, and iXblue is doing some work with multi-beam surveying, using sonar and other techniques to map what's happening over there. We just thought we'd share a little bit of information about this. Obviously they need to do a lot of work to go and rebuild roads and infrastructure. Now, it's been some time ago, but the reason for doing this is that the whole coastline has shifted significantly in terms of the height. You know, in some places people are afraid of rising sea. Well, they've got the reverse.
where the Earth has actually moved up out of the sea, and they need to remap that for maritime purposes as well. And moving on. So another commercial use of drones at the moment is happening in the Hunter region. Let's
Wild
have a quick
Read.
look at that one. Yeah.
Haven't heard that one.
These students are taking their
Oh, we've
education
got these out of
to
order
new
today.
heights.
I've got a
We've
problem.
been programming
Oh, it's all right.
drones
Looks
to
good. What
do
is
a
it?
drone rescue where we fly
So
from
this
the
is
circle into
a
another
drone
area where there's the supposedly
educational thing
person
where
we
you've
are
got
rescuing.
drones and
It's all a
coding
part
happening
of
in
Whit
schools
Sunday
at the moment.
Anglican's new science
Tellos,
and
is
technology
that a tello?
subject, where
They're using the
students are
tello,
learning
yeah.
cutting-edge
Oh,
skills
fantastic.
that have
That's,
been used in industry.
That's a great
Things
little
in
aeroplane.
agriculture,
Both
they're
you and I
using
know got
drones at
those,
the
and
moment.
I'm singing their
Mining
praises
are
at the
using
moment. My new
drones.
controller, love the
But
tello.
these skills are
Fantastic little
transferable
toy.
to other areas
And
as well.
I
Teachers say
just
the
ordered a
problem-solving
range
task
extender. But
gets
look, here we see
students
kids
engaged and excited.
actually using scratch language, very, very easy, to program the aircraft to do, simple things. It'll do flips, it'll move forward and backward. The idea, of course, is to, I suppose, reinforce in these youngsters that what we're doing here is flying software. The hardware, it's relatively simple, but the software is where all of the secrets are.
Understanding what each
Yeah.
of those mean.
I think it's awesome, having education about drones and coding, and the particular thing that the guys are doing here in the video, they're actually going and simulating some search and rescue missions where they've got to move the drone from point A to point B, get it in the circle,
Yes.
and so forth. But they're not just doing it by hand; they're doing it in coding, which is really, really innovative, I think, for school.
That's what we recognise in the future. I keep saying to the young pilots that we're training here, this is a skill that, like a modern fighter pilot, is not going to be required soon. We're not going to fly these airplanes manually. We will recreationally. That will still exist, and it will always be a pleasure to fly, a quadcopter and enjoy racing and all of those things. I think they'll prosper, but a lot of the work that we see for future aircraft will be done by software.
Yeah. So moving on from that, we're going to go and have a look at turtle power, which is what I've entitled this article. So again, just an innovative use of drone technology. They're going and tracking turtles.
Wallace Island.
Yeah, so some good Australian material as well. Good use of drones in Australia.
That's a beautiful spot up there. There used to be an airstrip on Wallace Island, but not functioning these days. I flew in there a few times, but of course there's a lot of sea life around that area, and nothing more has helped the marine biologists these days than having an aerial platform, because I think because it doesn't disturb the environment. It's a very passive way of monitoring and tracking things in the water and all sorts of things without actually even taking a boat out. So many times you can do it from the shore. Pretty exciting stuff. That's a great area and lovely footage. Looking for the track, that so that you know that you can lay the eggs distance, and of course by foot or any other way, car tracks destroy the actual turtle tracks. But also by the time the tide comes in and washes the tracks away, you've missed out. So with an aerial platform, of course, you can photograph and map a wide area very, very quickly using the Parrot Disco there. Good choice. And to map the area so that they can pretty much monitor the tracks. Do it every day. Very easy to replicate those flights and look at the same series of changing maps.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go back to that story that we missed before. I'll just get back over there. So the wild reed, the Hunter region infestation. So this is looking at the Hunter region and what's been happening. They've got a particular reed there that's overgrowing, the area, and they're using drones to go and deal with that. And in particular, they're using a Yamaha Motor Sky product.
As I'm using the spray technology from it as well. So this aircraft that you're talking about is a big aeroplane. It weighs 149 kilos, and it's designed to do that so it doesn't cross over our 150 kilogram limit. Once you go to 150 kilograms, the aircraft's got to be certified, changes all of the numbers. But the 149 kilos is a big helicopter, trust me. And a lot of the people that train on this helicopter say it's one of the most difficult RPAS to fly that they've ever flown. Even helicopter pilots suggest that the old Yamahas are a real trick and a half to fly. Not much automation in it.
Absolutely.
Very basic gyro stabilisation in the tail rotor, much like a large radio control helicopter, really. So
let's just put the video up.
Takes a bit of work. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is certainly being done by New South Wales government.
There we go. Have a look at that thing. Hey, what's great about it, of course,
this is,
Greg, is
giant
in precision agriculture, you can really get very, very close to where the problem is and put the pesticide down without destroying. Whereas a normal aerial application from manned helicopter, larger aeroplanes, you just get spray everywhere. Whereas this thing's able to drop down, spray a very
targeted.
Very targeted, localized area, and fix the problem. It's a unique machine. We're going to see a lot more of this application in the future for sure, and certainly with quadcopters leading the way. The helicopter, this particular helicopter has had the market for quite a while now. These things have been around for more than 10 years, flying around doing this. And as I said, they can't fly it at all. Need to be all our farmers.
So look, just sharing again, these are some of the uses that we're seeing in Australia. We're just seeing a little bit of lag on YouTube, but it's come back, so that's good. Let's move on. So that's all for the news today. I will share a late news story just in. So Ken Heron has written to me, and last week we saw we saw a pigeon attacking John on his boat.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
And Ken's wrote in to explain, I think I figured out what happened. You see that whenever you mention the name Ken Heron, that will summon my worldwide army of pigeon minions. The one on the houseboat was Glenn. He's the head of the Sydney office. He was just doing a quick check on John, nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. That's great. Well, I can tell you, just to finish the pigeon story, because I know I showed the pigeon on the show. It had a green tag around its neck, and so my daughter Sarah came up and my wife, and I said, look, we've got a pigeon here, and I said it's got some sort of serial number in it. So I'm trying to read the serial number 0405 something or other, and of course my 13-year-old daughter said, Dad, that's a mobile phone number. Get with it, that's a 10-digit. So we ring up the mobile phone number. And the guy said, my wife's talking to him. He said, oh, gee, you own a pigeon. And he said, yes, I do. I have many
And was
pigeons.
it Ken that answered?
No, it wasn't Ken, but it was obviously one of Ken's minions, because you'll get this. I'm in New South Wales. For our international visitors, this person was in Victoria, in the middle of Victoria somewhere. So we're talking a good, 600, 700 miles that this bird we thought had flown. Anyway, we're describing the bird to Ken's minion. And he says, no, I've got a friend looking after that. It's flown away from Parramatta. It's just having a little rest over at Parramatta, which is only really, 25 miles away. However, this bird, I said, well, what do? We launch the bird and hope it sort of gets its a GPS lock back and can make its way. And he said, no, hang on to it. I'll come over and get it. So sure enough, 2 hours later, they turned up on the door. And Speckled Jim, as we called him, for those that love Blackadder, Speckled Jim went back to his owner, and that was the end of the story. But it was certainly right in the middle of the show. All that happened. It was great fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So
they might have been the first drones. Greg, pigeons, absolutely.
Yep.
Autonomous vehicles.
Absolutely. So moving on, we've got our guest Bill, the drone reviewer.
Very patiently waiting. Hey, Bill.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so just to start off, for those who might be regulars here but may not have seen your channel or vice versa, tell me about yourself. Where did you get into the drone scene from?
I started about a year ago, last May. One of the things that got me started with doing drone reviews was I really liked the quality and the content that I saw out there. But one of the things that was very frustrating was some of these videos were 15 to 20 minutes long, and I wanted to give clear and concise reviews so people could have more time to get out there to fly. So that's how my channel got started.
Okay. And so you fly regularly yourself? What's your main aircraft you fly?
Yes, I fly a DJI Mavic Pro.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to do in just a moment, I'm going to get your channel up on the screen. So bear with me as I do some magic over here. Okay, and build the drone reviewer. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this, there we go, let's put that up on the screen. So what I wanted to do is have a look at some of the, oops, let me click here. I wanted to go back in time and have a look at, so we've got Phantom 5 update 1 month ago. We've got talk about Mavic. I should have done some screenshots of this ahead of time instead of trying to do it live, so my apologies. But it is in there. You've got all of these different talk and the speculation about the different DJI release dates. So
Right.
Is this a speculation driven market, or what's happening in your opinion with what's, the rumors and also the reality that we're seeing in terms of the DJI event recently cancelled?
Well, right now, I think a lot of people are, one of the things that I've heard recently is that the whole reason DJI has postponed the event was that this was a marketing tool on their part, almost like the delay that Autel had in getting the Evo out. And for me, I'm sorry, I just don't buy that, because as you know, DJI is a large company and they're building a new headquarters and they need a good revenue stream coming in. So, and with competition releasing new products out there, and they haven't released anything since January, that's one of the things that I absolutely, positively do not buy.
Yeah. So let's have a look at some of the recent speculation. Again, I'll just get a picture from my laptop up on the screen. So over here, you can see this is the recently, is my audio coming across okay? I'm hearing some echo, some clipping. Is that okay, John?
Yes, it is for me. Yep.
Okay, no problems.
Same for me, Greg.
Okay, so this is one of the photos that we've seen a lot of speculation about, and I just wanted to share this first of all. It came from Ostia LV's Twitter feed. That was the first place that I could see this anywhere on the internet. And there's the other photo. So those are the two photos that we've seen.
That shadow it looks real to me.
It looks real to me, and I'm just going to share. There's one other photo, this one. So the reason why I think this is the source of the photos, he's the first guy, and in fact the only guy that I've seen sharing this photo, which is supposedly a close-up photo of the power button on the new aircraft. Where do you think it's coming from? Why is it coming? Is DJI deliberately leaking the material?
Well, to answer your last question, yes, I do believe that DJI is deliberately leaking this material. The other thing that I believe is when you see the words DJI, when you see the words Mavic Enterprise on there, you know that this is for a commercial type of client. And when you look at the payloads on both of them, especially the first one that you showed, Greg, that looks more like, I mean, a lot of people speculated it was a speaker or maybe an ultrasonic sound system or sensor. But the first question comes to mind was something that large on a Mavic Pro, you know, it's the center of gravity is it probably could not even take off. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you see something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So
let's forget the aerodynamics for a minute. What is it? What is this magic sensor?
Yeah, that's the $64,000 question. And I think if you look kind of closely at it, I think that's not the position that it's in when it's flying. I believe when you look at below where it says DJI on it, that looks like a hinge, and I believe that comes down. And I believe it's used in probably some type of mapping effort, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Look, it's all speculation at the moment. You were going to say, John?
I just think the position of it is a problem because of where the GPS receiver is in the aircraft. And so that's why you can't put anything on top of a Phantom, because the GPS receiver is in the top of the dome. And if you decide to, you know, we stuck 360 cameras on top of a Phantom, and because that kills the GPS right away. So how they've done that, I mean, you could replicate a GPS aerial inside that
That's what
unit.
I was about to say. There's no reason why they don't have a bus going from...
No,
yeah.
you can do that, of course. But I think Bill's point, which is most valid there, is the centre of gravity problems. And, you know, this is a 700 gram aircraft. And I'll tell you, you know, every 10 or 15 grams matters where you put it on that airframe. It's a tough little airplane, no doubt about it. It will carry, you can hang a small weight off one leg arm, it'll fly happily. But there are limits to it. And it's for a specific purpose. Maybe it's only got to fly 5 minutes. Maybe it could be as simple as an ultrasonic thing that maps mosquito movement. You know, that's I know seriously, because you know, those kind of that mosquitoes give a particular type of ultrasonic. So it'd be ideal airborne platform for that. Whatever. It's something scientific. It's certainly nothing domestic, as that I can see.
Yeah. Look, whatever it is, it's interesting. And certainly I do like the idea of plug and play on the aircraft. Certainly, having had a look at the code, I don't know if those who are new here, I'm involved in a little bit of the DJI reverse engineering scene. Not one of the core members, but certainly I do have a look at some of the code that we're, you know, reverse engineering. And certainly I've seen a lot more stuff in recent times on payload related management. So it's interesting to look at that.
Yep.
And just on that topic, for people who may be interested in reverse engineering and so forth, dji.retroroms.info, that website, you can get in there and have a look at the code yourself. So back to Bill. What else do you see in the photo?
Well, you know, that, I think, Greg, you know, to me, you know, what I see outside the Mavic Enterprise is probably more interesting than the actual Mavic Enterprise itself. Over to, well, it's my right behind the aircraft, is what looks like a white Mavic Air back there. And then immediately behind the aircraft, I did a blow up of that, and a lot of people are speculating that is probably a black Mavic Pro 2 back there, or a Mavic 2. And then immediately to the left of that looks to be like a controller for the Mavic 2.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, look, whatever it is that DJI is doing, their marketing is effective.
You know, one of the things that I've said quite a bit on my channel, that DJI does not waste any technology, and DJI is a lot smarter than sometimes we even give them credit for. And I believe that this photo was leaked not for what we saw on the Mavic Enterprise, but for what we saw going on around the Mavic Enterprise.
Yeah. Look, have we got any questions in the chat room now? We'll just have a quick little pause to see what's coming up in the chat. I'm just going to swap windows.
Plenty of chat in there. Yeah, the
Mavic Air in the background from 400 AGL.
Yep, you can see that.
The grumpy vlogger, Lloyd, a multi-dimensional flux capacitor.
He's got to be working for DJI. Look at that.
Hey, if we're going to go and guess and speculate, we might as well go all out. Me, I'm sticking with a TA/MMQSD configuration. Crickets. What is that?
Crickets.
I don't know what a TAMMQSD is. Oh, hang on.
I don't think you meant to.
It's up above. The tachyonic antiphonic compatible micro mini quantum storage device.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. And what? Not just. So I told you we got the smartest people on this show. Hey, yeah, I'll put a photo up. They'll tell you what it is straight away.
Yeah. We've got comment that it looks like a thermal imager. Look, whatever it is, DJI do continue to stir the market, and I am 100% certain, this is my opinion, that this came from DJI.
Yep.
Without a doubt. If we have a look at the source of this image and the previous one, they seem to be reasonably well connected to some people within DJI, and that's all we'll say for the moment. So let's move on from that. So some people are commenting it's from Star Trek, obviously with the name the DJI Enterprise. That is cool, the reference to that. Let's move on. So we've got our competition, and Bill, I'll just get you to hang around for a couple of minutes.
Sure.
So talking about our competition, there's two running. We've been giving away a D1 store prize pack every week for the last few weeks. This will be the last week, and as soon as we pick a winner today, all of the previous ones will be sent out at the same time with this one. So what I need you to do at the moment is have a look at the barrel video, which is in our back catalogue. Go to the barrel video now and watch it in the background. You don't have to listen to the audio for it. And what you need to do, this video was from a friend's house. He built a duck pond in his front lawn there. When he purchased the house, there was something else in the neighborhood that attracted him to buy there. So watch the video in the background and tell me what it is that attracted him to buy his house in that location.
The neighbour, obviously.
The neighbour? Well, indirectly, yes. Indirectly, yes. Now, we've got 400 AGL who knows the answer, and he's watching for answers, and we'll put that up on the screen in a few moments. And we've already got a winner, Matty Boy. Congratulations, Matty Boy. We're going to send you the D1 prize pack, which is a hat and a backpack. And just a reminder, please, Matty Boy, to win, you also needed to like the video and put a comment there. So don't forget to do that. Okay, so that's the competition. And now moving on to our next...
And the answer was golf course for anyone.
The answer was golf course, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yep.
So moving on to our next topic. So the topic is noobs and buying your first drone. We'll keep Bill around in the background, and we might switch between John and Bill a few times while we chat on this topic.
I think that's a good idea. You know, Bill really has got some great reviews there. And lately, and I think because you can see so much good stuff on YouTube, on things like Bill's channel, to help you choose. And I'm going to give a plug for Bill's channel because, you know, I sort of got tired of watching unboxing videos. And I did have a time where I thought that, you know, but, you know, a 5-hour unboxing of a Tello is just, you're not going to keep me interested. You know, I'm going to have to drink 8 cups of coffee to stay with you. So, well, yeah, I'll give a plug there. That what's great about Bill's channel is that the aircraft he's looking at, he does quickly. You can move on. And then, because if you want to have a more in-depth, you know, look at it, the first place to go then is the manufacturer and have a look at their website and, you know, start making some choices. But, you know, that's certainly a good way to start. We had a bit of a chat about this yesterday, Greg, about the first aircraft. And I think what you've got to do here when we're talking and giving people advice about this is understand that, you know, whereas we want them to have a successful and cost-effective start into their flying, there are things that you have to take into account, like just how much do you want to spend and what do you expect to spend. Even if you've only got $50 to spend, my thinking is we don't want you to waste the $50. You know, spend the $50
Absolutely.
well. And it might be $50. The best thing may be to spend it on a half-hour lesson. You know, with someone, or a 1 hour lesson with a pilot, and you know, you could actually get a go, have that information, get your hands on the airplane. Whereas you might get an hour's flying for that somehow if someone was very generous. Now, if you buy a $50 toy and take it out and fly it in the wind, you're going to get a 5-minute experience, if that. Well, you might get an hour, but you'll be looking for it for over an hour. So, you know, spending your money wisely, I think, is important here in the beginning. Greg and I, you know, we talked and suggested the Tello is an ideal little aeroplane to get to start with, to fly indoors and to get your fingers working and your control sense well. And for the price point that it is, it seems to be a really good entry-level aircraft. It's pretty hard to match as far as the smaller toys go.
Yeah, so let's rewind. My first comment, and this is my opinion, the best first drone to buy is don't use someone else's.
Yep, good.
Right? So if you know someone who's got a drone, use their drone that they've already got, particularly if they've got one without GPS. And the reason why I say that, I started flying something without GPS built into it, was my first drone. And I think that was a really good learning experience to get the feel of flying instead of the feel of playing a video game in the air.
Yep.
That's the only way I can describe it. And just really, really briefly, I'm going to share on the screen the video of the product that I got first. And this is not necessarily saying this is the best one to have.
This is the type of aircraft you're looking at.
It's the type of aircraft.
What was the cost, Greg? How much did it cost?
The cost, it was at the time, so prices have come down, and this is now available for $50 Australian, so maybe $30, $40 US. Let's just put the video up in the screen. Should be 3.1. Is there a 3.1?
Because a lot of people would disagree with this.
Actually, that's the wrong one. Doesn't matter. Let's look at this one first. So this was a video that you selected, John, and I got them out of order. Apologies for the ordering of the videos today, everyone. That was my bad. I had a Apple update that happened, and I didn't get my final checks done before the show today. So this is a Lego drone. John, do you want to comment about why you asked to put that one up?
Yeah, look, I just felt that on the first aircraft, there's certainly a lot of satisfaction for having some build. Now, this is not going to interest some people at all. Others will swear by it. So if you can piece together the components and get the thing flying, there's an enormous amount of fun and satisfaction. I recommend if you've got teenage kids that this is a fun thing to do together, and you can do it in an afternoon. It doesn't take forever, where you can get something to go out and fly. But I encourage any type of build or if you like that type of interaction with the technology, because I think as you move forward from there, you've got an appreciation of what's in it. You can see the components. And it's pretty much like doing a lesson series, if you like. Follow the instruction. You can see you can have a bit of fun with this. There's a hexacopter, and they're all quite cheap. They're very cheap. They're very light. They're non-GPS toys, and I think that they're a good way to go. There's one at Kogan available at the moment. A build it yourself quad, $49 with a controller. That's Australian dollars, $49 with a controller. Put it together. Only really takes half an hour to piece it together. But again, just a starter drone, that's probably good for a younger flyer.
So I'm going to move to that, and I'll play a video that was meant to be the one that I was going to play first. So the next one is the Alpha drone, which is what I got. I got it from Kmart. Let's have a look. So this is one that I got from Kmart. It was an Alpha drone. It currently goes for about $50. Really, really simple, cheap, but you can bash it up against a wall or into anything, and it's going to handle just fine. But it's got no GPS. And again, I say, for me, I learnt more about flying and the feeling of flying from flying that before I got my other aircraft, and I think that was a good thing.
You counter the wind. There's basically, a sort of a sense of getting the form of what the aircraft does in various wind conditions. So, that helps. Oh, look at that. There we go.
What do you think, Bill? What's your view on non-GPS quads for a first beginner quad?
That's a great question, Greg. When I had Kelly Shores from Ready Set Drone on my show, he highly recommended. I think it was a SEMA X5C is what he learned on, and he said, Bill, and I told him what drone I started on was a Autel X-Star Premium, and he said, wow. He said, the drone that you probably should have started with is a SEMA X5C, because he said it was just, it's like the drone, the Alpha drone. It doesn't have GPS, and you really learn how to fly. And I as I look back upon it, that was a mistake for me. I wish I would have started with that, because he's right. And you're right too, Greg. It's so much, you learn so much that way, and then it makes drone flying a whole lot easier when you learn it on a non-GPS system.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it was what was accessible to me. And the reason, I've said this a number of times on the show, the reason why I got into flying drones in the first place, my wife made the mistake of seeing this in a catalogue on sale and on special and said, hey, do you want to have one of these? Knowing that I was interested in tech. Big mistake to my wife, and I've been flying ever since, and my producer over here is nodding her head as well. But look, it's a lot of fun.
I'm seeing in the chat room, Greg, the Cymea 5. I started on an MX 500 or 600, it might have been, on non-GPS. I reckon if we took a poll, most of our flyers and listeners here have either started on these drones or had these drones or are recommended to other people to get these non-GPS drones. And I think, it's learning to crawl before you can walk. I think the other thing that we haven't mentioned is a line of sight. So what the type of things it forces you to do by not having GPS is fly the aircraft in close proximity. So you're much more likely to do nose-in hovering. And so, because if you straight buy a Phantom 4 straight out of the box and take it off, charge off and start flying FPV.
You're going to look at the screen and go.
You're going to fly on the screen, you've got no problems flying FPV, and yet that very time when you've got to fly in manual mode or in ADI mode for some reason, and the GPS counts down, or you fly into an area where the GPS is shadowed, you need all of that skill to get the airplane home. It can't fly home automatically. The return to home won't work. But if you can see or got any way at all to get the airplane back, get some altitude and get home manually, you're going to save yourself a lot of grief. And I think that's again, reiterating and reinforcing Bill's comment that, that's the way to go these days. Everyone agrees. There's plenty of them out there.
Let me ask a question. Let me ask a question of everyone here, and I'll ask you first, Bill. Have you ever had an event where you've lost vision from your drone when you're flying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it happened to me out back behind my property. And, at that point, what I did was immediately I gained altitude.
Yep.
And I got a good fix on the aircraft, and I knew the direction it was in, and I knew I had to do basically a 180. And once I did a 180, I hit the stick, and sure enough, I saw it coming. So yeah, and again, you can't say enough.
Let's go further. Let's go a step further. Have you ever had a combination of loss of vision where you actually have to then start to line of sight fly it?
Well, no, I can't say that. Yeah. But what I can say is in that instance, I immediately gained altitude, because that's one of the things that I watched a lot of videos, and everybody said, if something like that happens,
get out of trouble.
You need to gain altitude, because the altitude's your friend in that situation.
Yeah, it is in all aviation aspects there. That's right, Bill. Gaining altitude is the answer to either getting better GPS reception out of a shielded area, getting better radio line of sight to the aircraft, anything at all. And one of the things that we tend to do, if you're quite good with the sticks and not having a lot of knowledge on aviation, is we think, oh, hang on, I've got a problem here, I should come down. I'm worried about the aircraft being high and falling out of the sky, And so altitude would be a thing that you might think would break the aircraft that's going to fall. Absolutely not. In every circumstance, even if you're flying a 4-engine intercontinental airliner, altitude is your friend, as Bill said. The more altitude you've got money in the bank, and you can solve problems, you've got time. But certainly in a small quadcopter, I say to everybody, as soon as you've got any sort of problem, just go straight for the thrust and hit it.
I got a question in the chat room, and if I could ask 400 AGL Mel to try and take a tally. How many people watching here who fly with a screen have had loss of vision and GPS, let's say, at the same time, and you've needed to fly it by hand?
I'll take a wild guess at everybody. There'd be ones that didn't get the airplane back, but there's no reason. I mean, even the very best of them, you're going to have that scenario. And without vision, of course, or without telemetry, you're not even sure of what your GPS status is. And so a lot of airplanes get lost that way.
So back to the point, good to learn on a non-GPS drone.
Absolutely.
Eye on the bird so you can understand where you're going and get used to learning that way.
Perfect.
Let's move on. We've got lots to talk about today. I've still got some more. Just the final point is, once you've tried the non-GPS drone, moving into something next, we'll only spend a couple of seconds because we want to move on. John, you mentioned a Tello. Both you and I have a Tello as a good little cheap drone to own.
Yep. I think if you've got the money to spend that $100 odd in the US or $100, I think that's worth jumping from the $50 to the $100 purely. It's got vision sensing in it. You still need to have some skill to fly it, but of course it's a lot more durable. The difference between a $50 drone and a $100 Tello, although the Cymea 5, it's hard to argue that little airplane or the MX500, they're nearly equally as good, really, and reliable. They're all much of a muchness. When you jump to a GPS drone, we're talking about a price increase. And obviously capability, then I think it really, how much do you want to spend? I had a friend the other day say to me, I'm waiting to get into it. When the Spark hits $500 in Australia, he's going to go. He's got his money ready to go. He's just going to wait for that moment when the Spark hits $500. And that's not a bad choice. You know what he wants to spend. He knows, he's done enough research to know that the Spark has got enough capability. If you can go to a Mavic or a Phantom 4, you would. But I got to say, again, I don't have a Spark, but man, for the price, what that little airplane can give you is just amazing, really. In a 300-gram airplane, just outstanding, I think. What do you think, Bill, about the Spark?
I agree. I had a Spark, and I'll tell you what, for the one thing that really impressed me with that is the still picture quality from that. It is just outstanding. And also, John, you really hit the nail on the head. I think for me, it's one of the perfect starter drones when you're taking that step up, say from a toy or a Tello drone. The Spark is perfect because it does have a limited range, with the Wi-Fi, and that's an understanding when you get that. But for me, it's easy to fly. Out of the box, it goes at about 15 miles per hour imperial, and it's easy to watch, especially with the colors. And like I said, the photographs that it takes is fantastic. And let's be honest, you don't always need to shoot 4K, and especially if you're starting out, 4K is nice. But 1080p still produces some incredibly good quality. And I've asked my wife to take a look at the difference between 4K and 1080p sometimes that I shot between when I had the Spark and the Mavic Pro, and she couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, that's right.
The only comment there is the only reason I would shoot 4K is if I want to zoom in on something later in post. For me, that's the only reason.
That's a specific thing, but I shoot 1080p all the time just for convenience if I'm going to post it up or whatever I want to use it for. But I agree. I think there's a thing in risk management, Bill, that we talk about in commercial ops called containment, where when we're working on this now with beyond visual line of sight, when we do our first beyond visual line of sight regulations, containment's going to be radio line of sight. in terms of once you reach telemetry limits, things are going to go pear-shaped unless you can extend that. I think the Spark has a natural containment, a safety level of containment that helps the new user as well. So whereas, you know, a Mavic will fly out to 4,000 metres on a nice day, and that's a fair bit of, you've got to start managing your fuel and return energy levels when you're sort of flying those distances. The Spark allows you, even with its more limited range, to be contained a little bit closer to home. And so you're not going to have those long treks through the bush looking for a lost aeroplane as many times, as perhaps get some experience with containing it by that Wi-Fi level. And I think that's a natural containment that works well with a beginner.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we'll stop there, but I'll just, you know, suffix it by saying which drone you buy next is based on what you want to do with it. Really simple. Spark is still a good learning drone. Mavic, traveling drone. Mavic Air, somewhere in between, kind of a selfie drone, but almost a Mavic, but not quite. And then the Phantom and beyond, if you want to start going into some more serious photography. But let's leave it there. Bill, thank you so much for joining us today. It was lovely to have you.
You're welcome.
What about Stump the Yank? We've got to do that.
I nearly forgot.
Okay.
I've been
John,
waiting for that.
John, thank you for reminding me. It's time for Stump the Yank.
Now, I know you've only got 2 this time, Greg, so fire straight into it.
So I've got 2 questions, and here's the goal. So we need, Bill, you to tell us what you think this means. And to make it a bit more interesting, we're going to have John come up with kind of ABC, 3 different things. So the first one, and my computer is building the title. There we go.
Never, never. Okay, Bill, here we go. Never, never. Is it A, a reminder that you shouldn't calibrate your drone with the props on? B, a distance place a long way away from anywhere? Or C, marital advice?
I'm going to go with C, marital advice.
Okay, fair enough. In fact, in Australia, the never, never is a distant place a long way from anywhere, often referred to Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory, the never, never. And yeah, you'll never, never go. Know if you never, never go, and all of that sort of stuff. So the never, never is a distant place. But marital advice is really probably a correct answer as well. Next one, Greg.
Next one. So what is a nipper?
A nipper. Is nipper A, an anatomical part of a seaborne crustacean? B, a person with excellent long-range shooting skills who made a typo? Or C, a small child?
I'm going to go with B.
A person with excellent long-range shooting skills who made a typo. Nipper, or niper, perhaps you could say. No,
well, the correct answer is actually C, which another word for it is a young surf lifesaver. So it's a small person, a nipper.
A nipper's a small boy. You can even say, how you going, nipper, you know, or a nipper is a young child. So there you go. Marital advice and a sniper. I love it. Okay, we're getting there.
Okay.
Maybe those 2 go together. Thanks, mate.
Thanks you
again,
both
Bill.
very much for having me on tonight. Really enjoyed it.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. See you another time.
Buddy.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Bill.
So at this point, I'm going to toss a coin. What would you prefer, John? Would you prefer aerodynamics or Oz video?
Oz video. Well, look, you can't have a little bit of each, I suppose. What have we got? 6 minutes left. You're thinking about playing one of our listeners' videos, is that right?
Look, here's what I think we'll do. We'll do the Oz video. So I've got 2 clips. One which is a short clip, and then one which is a big long clip of about 5 or 6 minutes, which will just take us to the end of the show.
All right, let's see it. I want to see what our contributors there. We can talk about aerodynamics next week.
And I'm getting a, fist pump from my producer over here. So moving on, our topic over here is Oz, come on down. So The first one is submitted by Mark Coquio, also known as Strepto. We had him on previously as a guest.
Yep.
So let's have a look at that video, 5.1.
So much fun. There's some prototype frame, prototype. Go for it.
Yeah. No half measures. Yep.
Now, all I'm going to say is, don't try this at home.
No, you have to pierce it. To bring the needle down in a stabbing motion.
I'm just going to go out and forward. Go all the way hard.
Whoa. Fuck me.
So the title for this video is How to Dispose of LiPo Batteries.
Oh,
Not
that's on
over us,
fire.
you crazy. Fucking hell.
Anyway, let's leave that alone.
Motherfucker.
It's an interesting one. I haven't put the links to these in the description yet, simply because I was flat out earlier today getting everything ready when my computer was trying
I'm trying to
update.
guess what we were looking at there. I couldn't quite work it out.
It
a
was
LiPo battery.
It was a
underneath
LiPo battery that he stabbed and strung beneath a quad and flew it around.
Brave. Okay, yeah. Well, so some days are boring, so that's something you could do.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from that, let's move to our other video compilation. So this was put together by Greg Hilton, and it's a collection of videos from around Australia, all Australian content. Again, I haven't yet got the links to this in the description, but I'll put it there after the show a little bit later today. Let's have a look.
Beautiful Lake Yukonbean. There is a town buried under there. Anamitaby, old Anamitaby, I believe.
Okay.
And
Where is Lake Yukonbean?
Yukonbean? It's in the Snowy Mountains, because you could have Lake Jindabyne, Lake Yukonbean. So
Yep.
these are a lake system that all sort of feeds into the Snowy Mountains power system. But when they built it and they put the dams up, they had to get rid of one of Anamitaby, old Anamitaby, and now when the water level is low, the church spire appears from beneath the lake, and many ghost stories go along with Lake Yukonbean, I can tell you. Beautiful.
So this is our second one, Australia Winter 2018, Jonas Knoll. So this was a Sydney road trip that he shot with a Mavic Pro.
Nice with the glare there. It's always a good look to have a little flare in the shot when you've got that sort of light. Really contrasting. Level horizons. All good stuff, guys.
Nice waterfall shot there.
I did some waterfall shots when I didn't really reveal the excitement of the flight. As I said, it's not as exciting looking as it is flying it. You just get water, of course, but that looks great.
So the new one, Simpson Desert Crossing, and his handle is just YouTuber.
Really nice. That's great work. Working your way through the fleet up to the front.
So I just specifically wanted to share this so that people can understand a little bit about part of our country. This is Australia.
It's one of our main highways here, guys.
Yeah, welcome to the highway.
Barrington Top's got snow on it, of course, this time of year. This is actually north of Sydney, but it's quite high, about 5,000 feet up there, nearly.
So this was uploaded by a guy with a YouTube name, Strategic Minds.
Yep. And he would have noticed too, as a reminder, visitors, flyers, when you're flying in winter time or in those conditions, plan on your battery levels being lower, unless you can bump them with a bit of heat. But normally in cold conditions like that, you'll get 10 or 15% less battery life, and that's quite normal.
Yeah, I noticed that some time back when I was flying at Lake Jindabyne. I just warmed the battery up.
Look at
in the
that.
car.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
beautiful.
That's cool. Very nice. That is
Notice
one
who
of
that
our
was
highlights.
from? Drone Trucking Australia, 400 AGL Mel. You've got some competition.
Well, I can tell you, out in the centre of Australia at the moment, we're getting robotic trucks driving some of these highways. One stretch of highway now, driven by a driverless road train.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, it's pretty short distance, and they're trialling it, but it's a pretty doable thing these days to have a road train like that without a driver. I think that at night time, particularly the way the sensors, the LiDAR works on the truck, it's got a much better chance of avoiding a problem than a human driver, just purely because of the penetration of the LiDAR and the response time. So, lovely.
So this one, Southern Harvest, or Sorghum Harvest. How do you spell that? S-O-R-G-H-U-M. I haven't heard of that before, but it's in Western Downs in Queensland, Australia.
Yep.
By Sky Snaps.
Nice. Looks like a shadow of a phantom, is it, or a?
Looks to me like a phantom.
Yeah, it might be a Mav. Very nice pickup. That's good.
We got two more to have a look at today.
Yeah, that's the way. Great stuff. That's beautiful work. Oh, gone are the days when Auntie used to sit down and you had to sit there for hours watching holiday snaps. I mean, these days aerial photography is just, so interesting to look at. Even someone else's interest, come to life.
Mavic Pro versus Golden Orb Spiderweb.
Oh, here we go. So this is a little trap for those flying down some of these type of creeks, and you haven't thought of the risk of a spider web. I can't see it yet. Oh yeah, it's on that tree. So this can actually catch some real, there it is there. So this can cause some real problems, even though it's a spider web, with your, obviously, a camera gimbal, a golden orb spider. Yeah, look at this. Oh, there he is, right there in front of the camera. Oh, that's great. Escape, yeah, get out of there, exactly.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to untangle it, but of course you could lose your airplane flying into a decent spider web if you're not careful. Just from
But of course in Australia, that's not a knife. That's a knife. Well, we've got, that's not a spider.
Yeah, the golden orb, hey? Yeah, it's like a small mouse. There we go, that's good.
And lastly, one of our regulars, Oz Beach Andy. Coast Park Trail. Maslins to Aldinga Beach.
Oh, I'm thinking South Australia.
Yep.
Is that right?
It is indeed.
I can tell by the colour of the ground and the water, of course. South Australian water.
Is Andy in the chat room today? I don't think I've seen him.
Well,
so we're coming to the end of our show for today. We've had some great Australian content, and it's really good to be able to share that with other people around the world. We've had some good talk about the DJI photos and rumours and all of that kind of stuff. I guess we've just got to wait around a little bit longer, but we'll get there eventually.
Yep, we've got we've got so much content each week to cut down. But I want to say, as we close off today, Greg, congratulations on the tech, mate. Today, I think we didn't get any comments about streaming problems. We didn't get any hiccups. I know you had your bandwidth increased during the week, which you pay a lot of money for.
Yeah, you know what happened? I'll just share with people. Last week, after the show, I measured the bandwidth, and it was half of what I'm getting normally. Somehow the carrier had decided to go and do something. I don't know what it is. But then I had a look at the graphs after, and it's just boing, fixed again.
So we're up again. And, you know, today was one of those shows streamed out, a couple of guests online. So congrats with that, mate. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, so look, in terms of the next one, you can help us. If you're not already a subscriber, please do subscribe. So that's our channel link there. Second thing is we've got a Facebook page. Please do go to our Facebook page and like it. It will help get our name out there a little bit. Twitter, if you could follow us, that would be really helpful as well. If you've got anything you would like to send physically, there is an address, 5/127 Princess Highway, Sylvania, New South Wales 2224. And in particular for our prize winner today, send your address to this particular email address and we'll get that prize out to you. And in fact, the winners over the last 4 weeks, they'll be shipped all in one hit. But do send your address. Also, if you've got any video content that you'd like to share in our show, please send it, not the actual file, just a link to where we can view it and we'll pull it down from there. Now, I've got one last thing that I do want to really briefly talk about, the competition. So we're giving away an Osmo Mobile. Now, this is going to be given away when we reach 1,000 subscribers.
Woohoo!
The good news is, and there's a button on the top row to my producer, that one. Our subscriber count. That's our subscriber count there, 393. We just got someone new a few moments ago, and sorry for the brief diversion. We already had the button ready for the outro, but there's our subscriber count. Is there anyone who's going to make it go up to 394 while we're watching it? That would be cool. But please help us to grow, which is going to get us to be a YouTube partner, and at the same time help yourself to win this competition, win a prize. So share this video, our channel, and ask your friends to subscribe. If we've got 393 subscribers, if each one of those got one extra person to come in and join the channel, and they in turn, some of them got an extra one, we'd hit 1,000 very, very quickly. But certainly we're giving away a DJI Osmo Mobile as soon as we hit 1,000. And please do go to the channel to enter that competition if you're new to our channel. So that's all we've got for today. And John, it was good. It was fun. And let's have John on the screen and me before we go to the outro.
Yeah,
now
why not?
We're really confused. I've gone and upset our producer by, and she's laughing over there in the background. There we go.
All right. We'll see you soon, everybody. See you next week.
See you next time, John. See you next time, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.